Human society has two aspects, structural and functional. The structural aspects of society are the institutions. The functional aspects are the multifarious human relationships growing out of the fact that man lives in groups, and these are called social processes. A social process, observed McIlroy, in society is the manner in which the relations of the members of a group are brought together acquire a certain distinctive character. According to Gillen and Gillen, by social processes we mean those ways of interaction which we can observe when individuals and groups meet and establish system of relationships, or what happens when changes disturb already existing modes of life. Social processes are fundamental to the life of community. Radzinhofer, one of the first to conceive of sociology as primarily the study of social processes, maintained that human society should be viewed as social process, by which he meant the totality of social relationships. Interaction is the basis of all social relationship, and interaction is the persisting process of action and reaction. Society, as Radzinhofer views, is a social process of reciprocal relationships. In each society, two types of processes remain active, which either integrate or disintegrate the social organization. These are called associative or integrative and dissociative or disintegrative processes. The former tends to strengthen social ties and later tends to weaken them. Cooperation, accommodation, and assimilation are prominent among the integrative processes. Contrary to these, competition, conflict, and opposition are prominent among the disintegrative processes. The balance of these different processes is called social organization. Individual and society. Man is a social animal. He lives in social groups, in communities, and in society. Human life and society almost go together. Man cannot live without society. Man is biologically and psychologically equipped to live in groups in society. Society has become an essential condition for human life to arise and to continue. The relationship between individual and society is ultimately one of the profound of all the problems of social philosophy. It is more philosophical rather than sociological because it involves the question of values. Man depends on society. It is in the society that an individual is surrounded and encompassed by culture, a societal force. It is in this society again that he has to conform to the norms, occupy statuses, and become members of the groups. The question of the relationship between the individual and the society is the starting point of many discussions. It is closely connected with the question of the relationship of man and society. There are two main theories regarding the relationship of man and society: social contract theory and the organic theory of society. Social contract theory. The social contract theory throws light on the origin of this society. According to this theory, all men are born free and equal. Society came into existence because of the agreement entered into by the individuals. The classical representatives of this school of thought are Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, and Rousseau. According to this theory, in nature all men were born free and equal. Individuals precede society. They have some rights even outside society. Individuals made a natural agreement and created society, giving it certain rights and authority. In this way, society is an artificial creation and it has no right to dispossess individuals of their fundamental rights. Society can exercise control over the rights of the individual only to the extent to which it has been granted rights, to the extent to which authority has been vested in it. Organic theory of society. According to this theory, society is an organism whose structure and functioning resemble those of the human being and which also develops according to the same laws. The cells of this organism are individuals. Associations and institutions are its arteries. The main defect of the theory lies in its reducing the relation of individual and society to the relation between the cell and the body. The two relations do not permit analogy, since there are clear differences between them. Individuals are conscious beings. They have their own brain and they think and contemplate. On the other hand, the cells of the body do not have any consciousness of their own. They have no individual existence apart from the body. It is incorrect to consider society as an organism of individuals. In the words of McIlroy, the only experience we know is the experience of individuals, and it is only in the light of their interests, their hopes, and their fears that we can assign any function and any goal to society. When we speak of the group interest, we only mean the interest in the group which its members or any of them feel. Meaning of socialization. Socialization has been defined as the process whereby the individual is converted into the person. In its purest form, the word socialization tries to explain mental stimuli learned by association with different rewards and punishments. Sociologists use this term to describe the process whereby people learn to conform to social norms, a process that makes possible an enduring society and the transmission of its culture between generations. The process has been conceptualized into two ways. Socialization may be conceived as the internalization of social norms. Social mules become internal to the individual in the sense that they are self-imposed rather than imposed by means of external regulation and are thus part of the individual's personality. The individual, therefore, feels a need to conform. It may be conceived as an essential element of social interaction. On the assumption that people wish to enhance their own self-image by gaining acceptance and status in the eyes of others. In this case, the individuals become socialized as they guide their own actions to accord with the expectations of others. T. Parsons has combined both the concepts together. Socialization is learning that enables the learner to perform social roles. Socialization means coming together and making adjustments for doing work and discharging responsibilities of the society. According to Bogardus, socialization is the process of working together, of developing group responsibilities, of being guided by the welfare needs of others. According to Green, socialization is the process through which a man develops into a social being. According to McIlroy, socialization is the process by which social beings establish wider and profounder relationships with one another, in which they develop the sense in their obligation to and responsibilities for others. According to Ogburn, socialization is the process by which an individual learns conform to the norms of the group. According to Rose, socialization is the development of we feeling in associates and their growth in capacity and will to act together. According to Lundberg, socialization consists of the complex processes of interaction through which the individual learns the habits, skills, beliefs, and standards of judgment that are necessary for his effective participation in social groups and communities. According to Houghton and Hutt, socialization is the process whereby one internalizes the norms of his groups so that a distinct self emerges unique to this individual. According to H.T. Mazumdar, socialization is the process whereby original nature is transformed into human nature and the individual into person. Every man tries to adjust himself to the condition and environment predominantly determined by the society of which he is a member. If he fails to do so, he becomes a social deviant and is brought back into line by the efforts of the group of which he is a member. This process of adjustment may be termed as socialization. It is the opposite of individualization. It is a process of the expansion of the self. It develops in him the community feeling. Social nature of man. Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, writes, "Man is a social animal. He who lives without society is either a beast or God." Thus, man is by nature a social animal. He is born in society, lives in society, and dies in society. Society is indispensable for man. Man cannot live as man without society. Isolation from society is regarded as a punishment. Solitary life is unbearable for him. Social life is necessary for man. The instinct for some form of social life is innate in human being. Professor Park says, "Man is not born human, but to be made human." Human nature is such that it cannot but live in society. Man's nature impels him to live in society. The human child is endowed with some latent capacities. Human qualities like capacity to learn language, inquire and think, play and work, and help or harm others are developed in human society only. These capacities grow through social interaction with others. One cannot develop into a normal person in isolation. There are eminent sociologists like McIlroy and others who have cited a number of cases. One of them is given below. The case of Caspar Hauser. Caspar Hauser, a young German boy, was isolated from all kinds of human contact when he was a small child. He lived in isolation in the forest of Nuremberg till he reached the age of 17. He was brought out from the forest in 1928 and was taken to the city of Nuremberg. It was found that he could neither walk nor talk properly. He simply muttered a few meaningless phrases. He could not distinguish between inanimate and animate objects. After his death, the post-mortem report revealed that his mental development was not normal. In spite of his subsequent education, he could never become a normal man. Man is social because he depends on social heritage, which is a mixture of customs, beliefs, and ideals, etc. Society preserves social heritage and transmits it from one generation to another. Social heritage molds man's attitudes, beliefs, morals, and ideals. It is said that man only becomes man among men. Man is born with some inborn potentialities. It is the social heritage which determines the manner in which his innate potentialities express themselves in society. Emotional development, intellectual maturity is not possible without society. Therefore, society determines our mental equipments. It shapes our identity, our thought, and our emotions. Necessity compels man to live in society. People have a variety of needs. If they lead a cooperative life with their fellow beings in society, their needs are fulfilled. Many of their needs will remain unsatisfied if they do not lead a cooperative life with the fellow beings. The human child is born helpless. Without proper care, the child cannot develop. During infancy, the child must be provided with nutrition, shelter, and affection. It is society which extends protection, attention, and opportunities necessary for the survival and growth of a child. The society protects the child against all sorts of danger and difficulty. Apart from fulfilling the basic needs of a man, the society satisfies his desires and aspirations. The society fulfills various needs like educational, protection, nurture, opportunity, and equipment. The need for self-preservation, which is felt by everyone, is fulfilled by society. So the prolonged dependence of human child compels to live in society. Process of socialization. The social order is maintained largely by socialization. Unless the individuals behave in accordance with the norms of the group, it is going to disintegrate. But how does the process of socialization begin to work? It is said that the working of the process starts long before the child is born. The social circumstances preceding his birth lay down to a great extent the kind of life he is to lead. The parents' courtship and material selection, the customs concerning pregnancy and birth, and the whole system of cultural practices surrounding the family are important for the child's growth. The techniques of parental care affect his chances of being born or being healthy. Thus, the circumstances preceding his birth indirectly influence his growth in society. But direct socialization begins only after birth. The newly born child as an organism has certain things which limit or help socialization. These things are categorized into reflexes, instincts, urges, and capacities. Reflexes put the severest limitation upon socialization. Reflexes are the automatic and rigid responses of the organism to a given stimulus. They are unlearned and even unmodifiable. They set limits on what the organism can do, but they are not the basis out of which socialization emerges. The contraction of the pupil in strong light and the salivation of the glands of the mouth at the taste of sugar are examples of reflexes. Some psychologists have sought to explain human behavior in terms of instinct. Adam Smith, in his sympathetic basis of human activities, has accepted sympathy as the basis of all human behavior. McDougall is a strong advocate of the theory of instincts. A behavior is said to be instinctive if that originated in an urge or appetite, involves some sort of perception of the external world, is peculiarly fixed and mechanical, is dependent on inherited structure, and therefore characteristic instinct is fallacious because the human being at birth probably has no complete instinct but only certain elements of them, such as reflexes and urges. Urge provides firmer ground for analysis of human behavior. If human needs are not satisfied, it leads to tension until it encounters a stimulus capable of relieving the tension. The urge is thus a dynamic force behind behavior. It provides a starting point for the process of socialization. Everyone is born with defined capacities, though there may be some limits to what a man can do. This limitation can be overcome and is being overcome by the development of civilization. Man's capacity to learn may be increased by the development of new techniques of instruction and incentives. At present, no human being learns as much as he could tender more favorable circumstances, for his learning capacity is never used to maximum capacity. All societies are guilty of wasting human learning ability. How does process of socialization take place can be studied from the following points. Rearing. Rearing a child plays a very important role in the process of socialization. The way the parent shall rear a child, the way the child shall grow and acquire the qualities and traits, and those are the results of that way of rearing up. This is why we find that the child acquires antisocial traits if not being properly brought up or the needs not being fulfilled. Sympathy is a very important factor of socialization. It influences the social development of a child very much. In childhood, a child needs help of many people. The child is rebellious, but if the parents provide sympathy, the child acquires self-confidence and also develops the attitude of identifying with the family and the society. Identification. If children get sympathy from parents, family and neighborhood, they develop the feeling of identifying themselves with all of them. Imitation. The child, while living in the family and the society, acquires the traits of other individuals. The child imitates them and tries to act accordingly. Social teachings. In the family, the parents impart teaching to the child about the behavior, ways of living and ways of behavior in the society. This training and education develops in the child the imitation, beliefs, moral values and ideals. From family, the children move to the school and there also they are imparted the social education or social teaching. Perceiving the situation. Man or the child has to change the behavior pattern according to the situation. They cannot behave in similar manner in all the circumstances. This process of perceiving this situation is very helpful in acquiring of social ideals. New responses. When people perceive new situations, they act accordingly. This acting according to the new situation is called as new response. If they succeed in it, they repeat it. But if they fail, they give it up. Mutual behavior. When people come into contact with others, they are influenced by others and others get influenced by him also. Cooperation. As a result of cooperation, the social qualities also develop in the individual. When they see others cooperate with them, they develop certain qualities of cooperation. This is another way of developing social qualities and organizing the social personality. Suggestions. Children also try to adjust themselves to the social needs according to the suggestions from others. Generally, these suggestions are received from family, school, and other agencies of education and socialization. Reward or punishment or praise or punishment. Generally, when children act according to social ideals and values, they get reward and praise. Consequently, they are encouraged to behave according to the needs of the society. On the other hand, when they act against the interest of the society, they get punishment and insult. Conclusion. Social psychology lays a greater stress upon the social aspect of human personality. Thus, human personality has two different aspects, individual and social. This differentiation, however, is made only in order to understand things better, whereas in practice, it is not possible to separate these two aspects. The truth is that a difference between the two is only relative because whatever a man does in isolation from the society, his actions are undoubtedly influenced by a social environment. Thus, social psychology has a special place among social studies. Economics, politics, sociology, and other social sciences study man's institutional behavior in different groups. On the other hand, social psychology studies every aspect of individual behavior in a society. Social psychology may therefore be broadly defined as the science of the behavior of the individual in society. It is a general experience that every individual lives in a peculiar mental world which symbolically includes all those individuals who influence him. In order to be influenced by this psychological field, it is not necessary for other individuals to be present actually. Even in their absence, their relative psychological activities and emotions impress the behavior of the individual. Man is equally impressed by both types of fields, social and non-social. But the facts of social psychology can be more clearly understood by keeping before us an image of social psychological field, because thereby one may keep an eye on the behavior of an individual which is influenced by psychological interactions of another individual.